Good afternoon to everyone. My name is Francesca Span. I use she, her pronouns, and I direct new student orientation here at Lewis and Clark College. Today's webinar is titled Transfer Credits. I'm joined by a few folks who work in the registrar as well as the College Advising Center to discuss transfer credits and how that looks for our new students, whether you're a first year or a transfer student coming to Lewis and Clark College. Today's webinar is recorded. It will be available on our NSO YouTube channel as well as our orientation website for you to reference back at any time. All right, I'm going to pass it over to Mary to take us away for today's session.
Hello, my name is Mary Tweddle. I'm a degree audit and transfer credit specialist in the registrar's office. And I help students with last names L to Z. Next to me is my fellow degree audit and transfer credit specialist, Chris Ballard.
Nice to meet you all.
And he helps students with last names A through K. And also joining us is Heather Miner, who is in the college advising office.
Hello.
And she'll be here if you have any questions that are a little bit more suited to advising and transfer credit. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. We have a little PowerPoint presentation to just go over the basics of transfer credit. So, oops. Oh goodness, didn't have the PowerPoint up. Sorry about that. Here we go. Okay, hopefully you can all now see the PowerPoint. Again, Mary Tweddle, Chris Ballard, joined by Heather Miner, and our email addresses are there right at the top. If you have questions that are specific to your academic record, we ask that you shoot us an email and we're happy to help. And if you have general questions, you can save those for the end, but any more specific questions are better suited to email.
Okay, so I'm going to start with some general information about transfer credit at Lewis and Clark. So at Lewis and Clark, transfer credit may be received only for academic work completed at other regionally accredited colleges and universities. And if you have any questions about accreditation or if the college you took classes at was accredited, your best bet is to contact their specific registrar. However, we can also sort of field those questions for you individually if you'd like to email us separately. Another important fact to take into consideration is that we evaluate each course on a course-by-course basis. So what we do is we take in course descriptions, the credit total. We try to see if it's in the spirit of a liberal arts education, something that meets Lewis and Clark's values and such. And we do that for each individual class. And so we'll look at your transcript and start at the top and basically go through all of the classes to sort of evaluate them for transferability. In order to transfer, they need to be judged to be equivalent to those offered at Lewis and Clark. And when I mentioned the spirit of a liberal arts education, that's sort of what I'm getting at is, not all classes will be transferable, although the majority of them should be. It just depends on a course-by-course basis. So we try to take each one individually so that we don't try to group together ones that may or may not transfer with ones that would. For courses that are transferable, we record the credit, but we don't record the grade. Now, what that means is if you were to look at your transfer credit evaluation, you would see that the course is transferred in, but there was no grade associated with them. The credits will come over, not the grade. But in terms of what we're able to transfer over, it's important to note that at your previous institution, you need to get a C or higher grade in order to transfer. So another way of looking at it is if you received a C- or lower, those classes are not eligible, regardless of whether they would have transferred had they been transferable as far as the spirit of a liberal arts education. So keep those things in mind. I think there's one more. So probably one of the more important points here is that a maximum of 68 semester transfer credits may be applied to the degree. Now, that's not that you didn't take more than 68. It's just that we will only transfer 68 of them. And we'll get into more of that why in the next slide. But an important thing to note, too, is that it says 68 semester. Now, you may have gone to a college that had a quarter system, and we'll talk about that in the next couple of slides. But it's a 68 semester transfer credit that can be applied. And again, we'll get into more detail on that in a few slides.
So to look at the big picture, all Lewis and Clark students need 128 credits to graduate. 60 of these must be institutional, meaning that they must be taken at Lewis and Clark. So as Chris was saying, 68 can be transfer credit, and that's because you have to have 60 that are taken at Lewis and Clark. And these credits are kind of broken down into 3 general categories. So you have your general education requirements, your major requirements, but those together don't add up to 128 credits. So then you have elective requirements that you can choose what to take to fulfill the rest of the 128. So transfer credits are generally used to fulfill these elective requirements. They will account towards that 128 credits to graduate if they are deemed transferable. At the discretion of our office, the registrar's office, some transfer credits may satisfy general education requirements, and we'll get more into that in the next slide. And then at the discretion of an academic department, specifically the department chair, some transfer credits may satisfy major requirements.
So a little more general education requirements on top of what Mary just let you know, if you want to go ahead and take that. So we talked about in my original slide that it needs to be judged by satisfy the spirit of the general education requirement. Now, this judgment is made by our office, the registrar's office, and if we need to consult with faculty where we might feel it's a little too technical for us to understand completely, we'll reach out to them. But the long and short of that is our office is going to determine whether or not we think this class that is eligible for transfer is also eligible to complete one of your general education requirements. Now, if you refer back to the pie chart Mary had just put on there, a good chunk of your requirements come from general ed, and we have provided a link right here to our academic catalog that Mary is going to follow. And hopefully this will still translate to what you can see here. And this is our most recent undergraduate catalog. Now you can find this by going through the CAS registrar website and clicking undergraduate catalog. But if you go to this is the 22-23, that you're going to be under the 23-24, but that's not published yet. But so if you go to graduation requirements on the right-hand side, you'll see a link for general education requirements. And this will list all of the general education requirements we have here, your bibliographic research and writing, your creative arts, culture, power, etc. Now, each of them has its own requirement as well as a credit requirement. It also tells you the learning outcomes and what we expect to find if we are evaluating a course that we think would cover one of these sections. So say, which one are we in right here?
Culture, power,
if we're in culture, power, and identity, these are the things we expect to see in your course description. It's not a one-to-one match, but it needs to sort of embody exactly what these things are saying in order for it to be considered as equivalent for, I'm sorry, not an equivalent, to cover our gen ed requirement. So if we go back to the spreadsheet, or I'm sorry, the PowerPoint, go ahead. Is that the last one? Okay, so the transfer. So the last point of it is that in order for a course to transfer over, it must carry credit equal to a minimum of 75% of the normal Lewis and Clark credit requirement. Now, that sounds jumbled, but what that means is our normal credit requirement is 4 semester credits. And that means a class needs to be at least 3 semester credits in order to transfer over to meet that requirement. So 3 is 75% of 4, so that's very easy. Gets a little tricky when you move into a quarter system. A lot of you may have taken classes at Oregon colleges, and the majority of them are quarter systems. So at the bottom here, you'll see a very important bullet point that says a 4-credit quarter system course is only 2.67 semester credits. So that's just 4 divided by 1.5, which is the equation we use, and gives you 2.67. Now, that 2.67 is not 75% of 4. It's just a little bit below that. So what we do to sort of make that work for everyone is that typically 2 4-credit quarter systems classes can be combined together to satisfy the requirement. So it's not that you won't get the 2.67 credits. That would come in as general. If you had no other course to combine it with, it would come in as the general elective credit that Mary spoke about before. But in order to satisfy a specific requirement, it needs to meet that 75%, in which case we would try to find a course to combine it with. Say, you took 2 semesters of math, we will try to equate that to a math question. We'll get into that a little bit more later, but I don't want to get too far into the weeds, but it is important to note it's got to be 75% of the normal credit requirement.
Okay, so looking at major minor requirements, I think as I said before, transfer credit may be used to meet major or minor requirements at the discretion of the chair or program director of the major or minor. So our office looks at, is it transferable in general? And we also look at, as Chris just talked about, the eligibility to meet general education requirements. But it is up to the discretion of the major or minor department, specifically the department chair, whether the course applies to major or minor requirements. So when we do an evaluation of your transfer credit, it won't include information about this because this is something that happens a little bit later down the line once you've declared a major and or minor, and then you've kind of talked through your options with your academic advisor. So approval from the chair can be requested via course substitution form, again, once you have declared a major. And your faculty advisor can help with any questions you might have about, if you've taken a political science course at another institution and you're wondering if that might apply to a political science major here, they can kind of help you navigate that process and whether it would be appropriate to submit a course substitution form.
Okay, so now we've given you the sort of overview. So let's get a little bit more into what you're going to see on your end. So how we record transfer credit is, again, most of it is going to come in as general credit, meaning it's not equated to something specifically at Lewis and Clark. It's just coming in as elective credit. The way we record that is, let's say you took a Bio 100 level course at your previous institution. If we deemed it transferable, what you would see on your transfer credit report is Bio 1 TR. And all that really means is it is a biology class at the 100 level transfer credit. Right. Same for the English 2 TR. That would be a 200 level English class that we could not directly equate with a class of ours, but we did deem appropriate to transfer over as general education, or general credit. So that's what that means when you see that. And we'll give you an example of it in a few slides so you have a better understanding of what that looks like on your end. And again, the general transfer credit applies to a student's overall degree. Now up to 68 credits because, as Mary put, 60 of those credits needs to be institutional, and that's just a fancy way of saying you need to take it at our college in order to earn a degree from our college. Now, the department chair can determine whether a transfer course applies to a major or minor. I know we're sort of repeating ourselves there, but it's important to understand that if you see a transfer credit course that we did not equate to something that you think is part of what the major you're going to declare, it doesn't mean that it's not. We don't determine that. What we will determine is can it be transferable? And then down the line, as Mary had said, once you have declared a major, then that's the time to explore whether those classes themselves can directly equate to something in our specific program. So now that I've just said that, there are some cases where we might equate specific courses to your, pardon me, we went too far there for a second, where we might specifically equate it to a class at LC. Now, those are typically happening in math sequence courses, language sequence courses, and a few introductory 100 level courses. Your psychology, intro to psychology classes, your intro to chemistry classes. A lot of this happens because we've seen so many transfer credits from specific institutions that we know, if you took these two courses at PCC, it equals one of our courses here. Just keep in mind that you might see that, and it will have an example for you where instead of saying Bio 1 TR, it will say PSY 100. And Mary's going to show you a couple slides that will explain exactly that.
Yes, sorry, I got excited and jumped ahead to the example. But this does show what we're going to be sending you once we have done a transfer credit evaluation. It's called a transfer equivalency report, and you can see at the top that it lists the institution. So in this case, it's creatively titled Previous College. I do want to note that if you have taken credit at multiple institutions, there's only one institution per page, so only one college or university, and then you would scroll down to see your credits at the next college or university. If you start on the left-hand side, that's the course number according to the institution where the credit is coming from. So it's that institution's course number, followed by the title, followed by the credits earned at that institution for the course. And then if you keep going, there's the date when the course ended roughly. And then you'll see the course subject as it is recorded at Lewis and Clark. So if you kind of move your eyes down towards the end of that list, you'll see Phys 1 TR and then Ing 1 TR, Ing 1 TR, Ing 1 TR. And this relates back to what Chris was saying about how credits are recorded as general credit, and that's general credit within a department. So the general physics course at previous college comes to Lewis and Clark as Phys 1TR. You'll also see in this particular case, this is a quarter system school. So general physics at previous college was 5 credits. 1 quarter credit is equal to 2/3 of a semester credit. So those 5 quarter credits come to Lewis and Clark as 3.33 Phys 1TR credits. If you look at the courses above, you'll also see some examples of what Chris was talking about where we equate courses directly to Lewis and Clark courses. So looking right above, you'll see Math 131 at Lewis and Clark. And to the left, you'll see that there were 2 transfer courses from previous college, Calculus 1 and Calculus 2, that combined to equate to Math 131 at Lewis and Clark, which is our Calculus 1. So this happens a lot with quarter system schools where 2 courses equate to 1 Lewis and Clark semester course. You'll see that Calculus 1 and Calculus 2 are each 5 credits, so that's 10 credits total. And Math 131 is 6.67 credits, so that's 10 credits times 2/3 of a quarter credit to semester credit conversion, and that gives you 6.67. So I know that's a lot of math, but if you are at a semester's school as your previous college, that's an easier conversion. That's just a 1-to-1. So if you look at the bottom, it does list the total credits. So you'll see there's 59 transfer credits. That's 59 quarter credits. So that is equal to, moving over to the right, 39.35 Lewis and Clark semester credits. So it's not that we only transferred 39 of 59, it's just that 39 semester credits is equal to 59 quarter credits. And again, if previous college was a semester system school, those 2 numbers would be equal, so it would look a little different. But again, once we evaluate your transfer credits, you will receive a report like this from us, and we'll send you an email basically saying, we've received your official transcript from whatever colleges, universities you attended, and we let you know how many credits have been recorded. If any of those credits apply to general education requirements, we let you know that in the email as well. And then we attach the transfer equivalency report as a PDF. So if your last name is A to K, you'll be getting this email from Chris Ballard. His email's down there. And if your last name is L to Z, you'll be getting this email from me, Mary Tweddle, and my email is there as well. So you can be on the lookout for that. For incoming freshmen, we're going to start this review process in July, and I'll let Chris.
Yep, that's the main point there is, so starting sometime in mid-July, we will start sending these out, hopefully, as we start to receive our bulk information from admissions and some other things. So now this will include any official transcripts from colleges and universities that were sent to Lewis Clark admissions. So that comes to us also. It'll just come to them first, and then they'll bring it over to us. Now, the most important note here is that official transcripts have to be sent directly from the college or institution where the credit was earned. Now, that doesn't mean, what importantly it means, if the college sent it to you and you sent it to us, we don't consider that official. There has to be a direct line between the institution and Lewis and Clark for us to consider it official. Now, another big point to bring up here, because I think a lot of you might fall into this category where you may still be in courses or you had submitted a transcript to us prior to completing, say, a spring quarter or a summer quarter. Now, we urge you to send any of them as soon as possible. That way we can include it in a total sort of situation of all of your transfer credit instead of sending you a couple at a time staggered. Understandably, if you can't make that happen, that is, what it is, but we would like to have a complete view of your transfer credit and then send you that all in one report. So we take electronic transcripts. You can send it to Reg@Clark or directly to either Mary or my email, which we'll give you again at the end of the slideshow. We always recommend electronic because it's much quicker, though we still can get physical copies. And if you have questions about sending a physical copy, please reach out to either one of us, or you can check the transfer credit website for an address for where you can send them to. Now, our office doesn't review any in-progress courses for incoming students, only completed coursework. Now, that also actually includes if any of you wanted to send us an unofficial transcript to say, hey, is this going to transfer in? We can't evaluate that. I'm sorry, we would love to. It's just, it needs to be an official transcript for us to actually evaluate. So keep that in mind. Anything that's in progress or anything that's not official yet, we won't be able to evaluate. So I know that's a common question that we get. I always just kind of like to bring that up so that you know we're not ignoring you. It's just we can't evaluate them until they're official. Okay. Here's some resources for you. The transfer credit information, again, can be found on the CAS Registrar's website. Mary has so delightfully brought us here. This is our website. You'll be able to see all of the information about registration, not just transfer credit, but if you look on the right-hand side, you'll see transfer credit. This will bring you to an even more in-depth view of transfer credit than you might need, but if you have general questions, this is a good place to start. This has our information right there too. A through K is me, L through Z is Mary, also some general information. If you scroll a little bit further down on the right, you will see an address for which you can send any physical transcripts. We ask that you please, MSC 108 is an important part of that, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so there is another page where you can see transfer credit in the catalog, and Mary's going to take us there too. So in case you were just super hungry for even more transfer credit information, if you go to the undergraduate catalog under the same academic policies and procedures link over there, at the very bottom, you will see transfer credit. If you click on that, this will go into even more depth of our regulations, our rules, questions you might have. So again, another really good place to start if you have any questions. But I also want to reiterate, please do not hesitate to reach out to us if you have specific questions about something specific to you, and we'll be happy to answer. Finally, and thankfully, we have college and faculty advisors. They are excellent resources. One of them is on with us right now. So I urge you to talk to your college and or faculty advisors. They have great institutional knowledge to help you navigate some of the intricacies of our paperwork and just there to help you provide and be the best student you can and navigate our system, with hopefully any hiccups. So I very much recommend you reach out to your advisors when you get a chance as well.
All right, so I'm going to switch gears a bit and talk about advanced standing. So advanced standing includes things like AP and IB exams, which I'm sure there's a handful of you who have some AP and IB exams that you're coming to Lewis and Clark with. So first, I just want to note that the maximum number of advanced standing credits of any type that can be applied to the Lewis and Clark degree is 32. So if you are someone who has more than 32 advanced standing credits, preference will be given to those examinations with Lewis and Clark course equivalencies. So we try to benefit you as much as possible, help you on your degree progress as much as we can by doing that. The recording of AP and IB credit is predetermined. So there's a whole table in the academic catalog that shows you if you got this score on this test, what that means for you at Lewis and Clark. So here there's some general information on advanced standing credit, and then you'll see the advanced placement table. So there's some AP course equivalencies, meaning that if you got a 5 on the AP art history exam, that is equivalent to Lewis and Clark's Art 100 course. So pay attention to both the exam score and the exam. You'll see there are some scores, like a 4 on AP chemistry means something different to getting a 5 on AP chemistry. If you scroll down, you'll also see AP elective credit. So instead of having a direct equation to a Lewis and Clark course, you can still get credit for these AP exams, providing you get one of these scores, but it's not going to be directly equated to any of our courses. It'll be more elective credit. Keeping on scrolling, you have the same thing for IB. So if you took an IB exam, you have the IB course equivalencies listed first. Again, pay attention to that score because that matters. And then first is the equivalency, and then under that you have the elective credit. So not a direct equivalency, but an exam that still will get you credit at Lewis and Clark, just not equivalent to a Lewis and Clark course. Back. Please note that in order to be eligible for credit, official advanced standing results must be received in the office of the registrar within 1 year from the date of initial matriculation, which in plain speak is your first day of classes. So if you are all incoming students, your first day of classes is going to be that first day of this fall term in 2023. So you'll have a year from that date to submit your scores. Please note that scores must be sent directly from College Board if they are AP scores, and IB scores must be sent directly from IB. Our office receives spring 2023 AP and IB scores in early July, so I'm sure a lot of you are already on top of this. You've already requested that your scores be sent to us. We'll be getting those in early July. If you have not already done that, I suggest that you do it as soon as possible so you don't forget, because say a year goes by and you're not thinking about it, and then all of a sudden you realize, oh, I have this advanced standing credit. If it's after a year from your first day of classes, we cannot accept it. We cannot record it. So just make sure you're on top of that if you aren't already. Once the scores have been recorded, you can view your scores in the test summary section of WebAdvisor. So since advanced standing is separate from transfer credit, we don't actually send this out with your transfer equivalency report. It's not part of that email that you'll be getting from us. But once it's recorded, you can see it in WebAdvisor. So you can just make sure that it's there, it's recorded, and you don't have to request your scores. If you don't see it in WebAdvisor come the beginning of the semester, you probably want to, you can reach out to us and see what's going on. And then you'll definitely want to request it if we haven't gotten it from College Board or from IB. All right, so these are our emails again. If you can't tell, we really would love to talk to you. And I also included the registrar's office general email, reg@lclark.edu. Anything you send there will potentially get to one of us or one of our other colleagues. We'll be happy to help you. And we are now open for any questions that you might have. I'm going to stop the screen share. And yes, if there are any questions, please let us know.
Thank you. That was really, really helpful. I have a couple of questions that I know that students often ask me as a college advisor. So one of the questions has to do with that AP-IB chart that you just showed us. Does the registrar's office accept credit for SL-IB exams?
No, it's only HL-IB exams.
Okay.
Great question, brother.
Yes.
Yeah, that does definitely come up. Another question is, I am interested, say I'm a student and I'm interested in doing the biology major, and I want to register for a biology 110 in August. And I'm checking the test results in WebAdvisor, and I got a 5 on my AP Calc AB exam, but it's not showing up yet. And it's July 20th or something. What should I do?
So are you saying that you've successfully got a score, you think you have a score high enough to receive credit for the course, but you have not seen it been recorded yet?
Yep.
So the first thing I would do was reach out to us and let us know, hey, I do not see my scores. Can you let me know if you have received them? So that's something we can look at, if I recall correctly. And then, so we'll check that out, right? So as far as, I'm going to default to Mary here about what she should do about registering, as I'm fairly new, so I don't want to talk in the turn.
Yes, so reach out to us. If we haven't received your scores, you'll probably need to request that they be sent. And then if you need to register, you can reach out to the instructor of the course and work with them Sometimes an instructor can give you permission to register, but that's on a case-by-case basis. So I can't speak to the individual instructor, but we always suggest that a student kind of start there if they're going to be waiting a long time for, IB or AP to send us the scores and then for us to record them.
Yeah, that's really helpful. The College Board is not always great at making sure that scores are sent. I would say a good 80% of the time they are, but sometimes you probably as a student did request them and they aren't sent. And so if you're getting close to when registration is happening and you want to make sure that you have certain AP credit recorded, there are two things you can do: re-request it straight from the College Board, and two, just take the ALEX placement test if you need to register for STEM classes and score a 53 or above. That's just the easiest way to, to make sure that registration is going to be okay. And then we can always, like you said, follow up with recording AP credit a little bit down the line.
Heather, as an advisor, would you recommend a student not sign up for the course if they believe they're going to have credit for it, or no, you would have them?
No, I would definitely, registration happens in 2 rounds. And in the first round, all students get to register for a priority course.
Mhm.
If you don't have the math prerequisite to register for something at that time, it can be later on very hard to get into certain classes. And so in a first round of registration, biology is a class that goes pretty quickly. So yeah, you want to have everything in line so you can register right away. But yeah.
It's much easier that if we end up getting, you want to secure your spot, and if we don't need you anymore, that's fine. But just to make sure that you're in. Yeah. Thank you for answering that.
Let's see. Another question is, okay, so say I'm a student and I'm coming in with 32 AP credits and 15 transfer credits. So altogether I have a lot of credits, over 45 credits. When do I have to declare a major?
I have to check our website, but it's when you reach sophomore status. So I think that's 20.
It's
28?
So 28, 0 to 28 is freshman. So 29 and past. So you will have until, I believe, the end of your sophomore year to declare a major.
Sort of. 45 credits, actually.
45. Okay. So you have
45.
Yeah, so all students have to declare a major after they've completed 45 credits. So usually if you don't come in with any credits, that is a second semester of sophomore year.
Right, the end of your
plenty of time. But if you come in with a boatload of transfer credits, which a lot of students do, they may need to declare their major that first semester.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for bringing that up, Dallas.
Which is, it's fine. You're going to a liberal arts college. You can change your mind, but you can always talk with your college advisor about that process too.
Yes, and our declaration of majors is a very easy process as well, as long as you talk to your faculty advisor and find someone. But it's a Google form. It's very easy to do, and it is extremely easy for us to change too if you have a change of heart. Personally, I changed my major 3 times at a liberal arts college, so I'm well versed in how that works. So, exactly. So no one's gonna yell at you. You're not gonna get a hand slap or anything. It's just just something you'll need to do if you end up having a change of heart.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Here's a question I got from a student recently. I have working with a student who won't be able to actually get an official transcript from the previous college he attended as part of a Running Start program in high school. That college will not send out an official transcript until the end of August. He took a calculus class, doesn't really want to take the ALEX exam. Will you accept an unofficial transcript so that he can register for bio?
Fortunately, no. We can only accept an official transcript. So if you don't want to take the ALEX exam, you're just going to have to wait till August. It's just, I think every school is kind of the same in that we only accept official transcripts for transfer credit.
Sorry, guy.
It's an unfortunate situation, but we have we have to stick to the institutional, rules and things like that, where we won't accept it just because we never know whether or not that's official or not. Not to say a nefarious reason, but occasionally you might not end up passing something because the course is not over, and we don't want to preemptively give you credit for something that we end up having to retract. So it's not fair to you, and it's not, not easy for us either.
Right. Another question that I have gotten is from a student who previously attended a semester college, and their credits there were 3 credits. And our credits at Lewis and Clark on our semester system are 4 credits. So does that mean he didn't complete the class to the same degree that he would if he had taken that class at Lewis and Clark, or what? Why is there 3 and 4 set credit semester systems? Like, what does that mean?
Sure. So generally, colleges assign credits based on like contact hours, and that combined with the hours of the work you're doing outside of class. So Lewis and Clark deems most of their courses to be worth 4 semester credits. And other schools have different ways that they, or different credit amounts that they assign for their classes. In terms of like general education, or maybe if down the line they were going to use a course to substitute for a major or minor requirement, 3 out of the 4 credits does meet that 75% rule that we have. So we would accept that 3 credit course as, meeting a general education requirement, or the department chair could look at it and say, yes, I think this is a good sub. And because it's 75% of 4 credits, it can sub for another course. So it doesn't mean, that it's less of a Lewis and Clark course. It's just different. And that's part of the reason why we have that 75% rule in place, because there are a lot of semester schools that have 3 credit courses instead of 4 credit courses. And there is kind of getting very down the line when a student is applying to graduate, a caveat that if they have transfer credit, they can be short. I think it's up to 2 credits in most majors. So that kind of allows for this differentiation in credit amounts between semester system schools and sometimes quarter system schools too.
Now, just to make a side point to that, so let's say you do get a class to transfer in for 3 credits that would normally be 4 credits at our school. It's not that credit just disappears. Now, Mary had said that you can be short credits for your major, but your overall total of 128 still needs to be met. So that other credit that's kind of gone to the wayward, that looks like it disappeared, is actually still sitting out there waiting for you to complete it. It's just that that's going to have to be done somewhere else. Like, let's say you got a major class transferred in that's a 4 credit here, but you did it at 3. It meets our 70% requirement, which means it also meets our content requirement. So that class is done, and you can be short in your major. However, you're still going to be 1 overall credit short. And so you're going to have to keep that in mind, is that it's just another credit elsewhere, but maybe it'll be an elective that you're way more into taking, and you'll get that extra credit there. But just like Mary said, as long as it's hitting our 75% rule, that's the important part. And we might run into schools that have 5 credit semesters, and then you have more than you know, but we can only transfer X amount, 68 credits total. So something to keep in mind.
Yeah, I think the elective credit category is really important to point out. I'm really glad that you guys spent some time on that, because students may think like, I'm not actually getting that much for all this work that I did in high school. But I kind of think of elective, all of that transfer credit or AP credit, even if it doesn't apply to a major, it doesn't apply to a gen ed, it's kind of like money in the bank.
Yes.
So at some point, you're writing your senior thesis in philosophy and you want to take 3 classes instead of 4. That's great. Or say that, I don't know, hopefully this doesn't happen to anybody, but what if you get mono and you need to like go down on some classes so that you can take care of yourself, or you want to take a semester off and backpack Machu Picchu? Sure. Like elective credit does still help you. So it's pretty important. Actually, along that, line. There might be students out there who have done a NOLS program, or some sort of program that was kind of, they got to study tropical reefs in Thailand. Can they get credit for that?
We don't give credit for what we call like experiential learning. So it has to be academic. It has to meet a certain standard of rigor that, you know, is Lewis and Clark standard. For NOLS programs, there are sometimes courses that are similar to maybe our PE activities courses. And that would be the only kind of credit that someone could get for that. We do only transfer 4 PE credits because only 4 PE credits apply to a student's degree. So to eliminate confusion, we just kind of stop at 4 because those are the 4 that are actually going to help you. But then other more experiential learning, it's great that you did it, but it just doesn't count as credit here at Lewis and Clark.
Yeah, I would say another one that sometimes pops up is semester at sea, which sounds amazing and I would love to go, but isn't actually very academic. So, but amazing. So, you know, it's okay.
You have to weigh your life experience with how fast you want to graduate.
That's right. That's right. That's all the questions I have. Is there anything else that you can think that might be useful?
There's actually one more point, just very briefly, I wanted to bring up about anyone who has more than 68 semester credits. It's not that we don't look at those credits. It's not like we're looking term to term until we hit 68 and we say, sorry, we can't look at that. What we're actually doing is trying to find the classes that will be most beneficial to you. Kind of like how Mary brought up in the AP/IP exams, like we'll try to find the ones that will actually give you more of a head start than the ones that wouldn't. And in that instance, it would be if this class directly equated to a Lewis and Clark class, we're going to give you that over something that would just be general education credit, or I'm sorry, general elective credit. Now, the same goes for your transfer credit. If you have 75, 78 semester credits, we're not just going to disregard the extra 10 or 15, whatever you did. We're going to say, of all of these credits, what are the 68 most helpful, right? Whether that means equating it to specific things to mean that's less classes you're going to have to take here as part of your general ed requirements or whatever, but we do look at them. It's not that we don't or we ignore them. We just try to give you the ones that will do the most help, most beneficial for you.
Great.
Well, thank you for your questions, Heather. That was nice.
I think that's
all we have. Francesca, do you have anything on your end there?
No, I think that was great. I hope that anyone who needs to connect with others in the future, you're always welcome to reach out to NSO and we can help you connect with the right person to talk about these credits. Or of course, you are welcome to reach out to them directly. This has been a super insightful session. I learned a lot about transfer credits that I had no idea about as well. So thank you so much for your time and being here. And yes, this webinar will be recorded and available for later viewing in case any of this information is something you need to re-listen to and consider as you move forward. Otherwise, I think that's it for today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Heather. I really appreciate it. Both of your time. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.